Gavel. All right, we are going to get started. Thank you all for being here. We are very excited to be in Woodlawn tonight. Once a month, we take our meeting on the road. We go out in the evening to different communities throughout Hamilton County, and I just want to say the folks in Woodlawn have been so generous because we have a special presentation tonight, and it took a little doing to get it together. So thank you so much for having us, for hosting our meeting. We are just delighted to be here. We generally do introductions, and so to my far right is Jackie Paniotto. She is the clerk to the Board of Commission. On my immediate right is the vice chair of the committee, Stephanie Dumas. Commissioner Stephanie Summerall Dumas. They're on opposite sides, and so it's throwing me off because this should be Portune.
Oh, we are right.
Portune's
Okay.
over here. So Commissioner Todd Portune to my left, Jeff Aludo, County Administrator, and then Michael Friedman's the legal counsel to the commission. We generally start our meetings with silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand if you can. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I'm going to move that we approve of the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So we are going to start off the meeting with a welcome from the mayor of Woodlawn, Susan Upton Farley. So if you would, I know you're not used to this, but if you would please come forward. We'd love to hear from you and hear a little bit about what's going on in Woodlawn.
Well, I got 2 more meetings before it's bye-bye. Oh, I should be eternally grateful for the county commissioners. Todd Portune has been a little bit of everything. I've never called on him. He didn't send somebody, he'd come. Our footbridge, Todd Portune found the money. Our recreation community center, our National Guard facility, we were in a bitter fight to get it. And some of everybody began to get in the hunt. Money, and looked like where we were, the closer we were to having the money, they found every kind of way to dip into it. But Brother Clyde, I talked to him and I talked to him. I'd go down there. I used to sit and watch y'all, but God smiled on us. And I've always had the ability to talk. I knew how to talk. I've been here in Woodlawn since I was 3 years old. I was in the first graduating class of Princeton High School. All 6 of my children graduated from Princeton, and all 6 of my children were able to go to college. So as far as my blessings, I've always been blessed. But the county, I had a great relationship with them, and they smiled on us. And I could give you a history lesson of what the county made available to us. The widening of Glendale Milford Road used to take you as long to get off of 75 to get to Springfield Pike as it did to come from downtown. Mercy, mercy. So there's been so many things that I've been able to walk around the corner because I retired from P&G and I could go sit and look at them. So I felt like I had a special connection with Todd Pertune. The last time that I got ready to run for council, I mean for mayor, but I done ran for council forever. But he says, you know what, Susan? You want me to walk over there to the Board of Elections? They won't let me in there with you, but I can stand outside and say I support her. I say, don't do it. Just keep doing what you're doing, okay? So I've had a great relationship with the county. I'm going to be retiring. I'm not running for nothing no more. December 31st. It's going to be my last day.
Mine too.
Say what?
Mine too.
I'm going to have you to come to my retirement. I want you all to feel free to come to my last employees' Christmas dinner. It'll be worth coming for. But I'd love to have you. I'd love to have all of you. I don't have, these 30 years worth of association and closeness with, but anything that I can do, I will, because you've been good. You've been good in helping Woodlawn grow. And we about done grown out. But I'm so thankful that I've been able to have good relationships. And I think the majority throughout the county knew that I was sincere. I wanted the best for us. Because I've been in Woodlawn since I was 3 years old. And I'm going to be 78 next month. So I'm trusting that I'm leaving it in good hands. I don't know. This will be my opportunity to introduce you to our new mayor come January 1st. Look at him. That's That's Mr. Brian Poole. So, I'm not going to talk all night because y'all know I can't. But I'm so glad. This is the first the first meeting that you all have ever had out here. So, I was asked, well, Susan, Mayor, do you think you can make it? I said, I'm gonna make it. Because I've never been able to welcome you here in our village. Stephanie Dumas. Y'all forgive me if I can't call all of you names, okay? But Stephanie, I've known her for years. And she was the mayor of our neighboring community. So I'm trusting that Hamilton County will be completely enriched, because Todd's supposed to be going home, but he's been some of everything that the county could help us with. And I know this, for the past 25 years, he really, really has. So I want y'all all to do well. You got big shoes to fill, but I'm trusting that you'll fill them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm delighted that you did the welcome, because you are obviously a trailblazer and a woman that has blazed the way for so many people that will follow in your footsteps. And we've got a special presentation tonight to celebrate people like you who have done the work before the next generation has come along. So we're going to get into that presentation. The Hamilton County Commission on Women and Girls is here. Hello, ladies and girls. So this is the second iteration of the Commission on Women and Girls. Last year's commission offered recommendations, a number of which we adopted at the meeting where the presentation was held. And so this is the group from this year. 10 of the women rolled over and are the senior members of the commission, and then there are 10 new women and 10 new girls on the commission this year. And so there is a presentation. I hope we all can see it, and the folks in the audience can see it as well. But with that, Andrea Poling, I believe, is going to kick it off for us and run us through the presentation. The committees will come up and present their work and their recommendations to the commission. Thanks for being here, ladies and girls. Whoa. Full speed ahead.
It's like me at the state capital budget.
I know. It's just like, is it working? There it is. Great. And I'm sorry, I should have noted that there are reports in the room. They look like this. And if you would like one, Fatima will hand one out to you if there's still some available. Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
So, thanks to the Board of County Commissioners for giving us the opportunity to present, and thanks to the community for coming out to hear about the work that we've been doing up to this point. And thank you to my colleagues, the amazing Hamilton County Commission on Women and Girls. This, as Denise was saying, this is the last time for some of us, the senior members, as she referred to us. So definitely a little bit of an emotional evening for a few of us. So last year, if you had an opportunity to hear about the work that we've done, let me see if I can get this data. Okay. So last year, we spent much of our time doing research, completing interviews, and getting feedback from the community. This year, we focused on turning that data into action, and you'll hear more about that over the course of this presentation. We also invented foundational work that will provide ongoing support across our subcommittees, including advocacy and support guidelines, brand identity and promotional resources, opportunities for girls to be involved in the community, a new application for applying to the Commission on Women and Girls, and a development campaign driven by our members.
Thank you, Bridget.
Great, thank you. And we also spent time in the community presenting our work and listening. This was made possible through programming we hosted, such as community conversations, CPS Student Achievement Committee, Day of the Girl, and Women's City Club Expo. So now I'll turn it over to the committee so they can tell you a bit about the work they've been supporting this year. We'll start with pay equity.
Good evening. I'm Desiree Bennett. These are my colleagues, Holly Hankinson, Adriana Kowach, and Andrea Poling, and we make up the pay equity, or the cash queens, as we've dubbed ourselves. So many of you have probably seen this graphic, and it is pointing to the pay disparity gap. And so the graphic that's up here, it's how women's earnings stack up to their white male counterparts. So white women, 82 cents per dollar that the white male makes, 62 cents on the dollar for black women, and 54 cents on the dollar for Latino women. And so closing this gap will not only help women, but everyone. It will also be good for business as well, as studies have shown that fairness in the workplace leads to greater job satisfaction. Last year, this committee talked to a number of individuals in the community, and we found that a lot of them were very reticent to talk to us about this topic. The ones that did talk to us wanted to remain anonymous, but they did want this to be talked about, right? So one of the ways that we think that getting more folks talking about this is to spread awareness. And a way to create awareness is by developing a framework for a local pay equity pledge for local businesses to join on to. And the way that we started to look into that is we looked at our peer city in Columbus, Ohio, where in 2017, the mayor, in conjunction with the Columbus Women's Commission, created a Columbus Commitment. And this Columbus Commitment was a voluntary employer pay equity pledge. For more details on that, for everyone that's in the room, just check our report in here and you can see what the requirements for that is. We also reviewed several other pay equity pledges, and although the exact language and some of the requirements varied from pledge to pledge, one common thread that we found was that they were all voluntary, and they all included some sort of assessment of their policies and their practices within their companies. And I'll turn it over to Holly.
Thank you. So we, as we continued our work, we understand and we were appreciative of the outside models that we had to use as a guide, but we felt that it was critical that our pay equity approach was really tailored to Hamilton County itself, both in the creation of a pledge here and also how it was rolled out to the community. So in order to do that, we conducted a series of interviews with leaders from several local employers that represented various sizes and industries. And our goals for these interviews was to assess their attitudes around pay equity, learn about any current work they were doing to address pay inequities, and gauge their interest in potentially signing on to a pay equity pledge in Hamilton County. We had a few key takeaways from these interviews. First, that they found that elements of the pay equity pledge were very attractive to local businesses, in particular the voluntary nature of these pledges. They also indicated that they would welcome a set of helpful practices and policies and a chance to learn from other organizations on how to approach this issue, particularly organizations that were in the same industry or size. Similarly, they noted that having respected organizations, such as business chambers or Fortune 500 companies, having those organizations take leadership roles in this space or champion this issue could have a domino effect in the community for other employers to follow. And finally, many of the employers we spoke with recognize that pay equity is a problem, and they didn't always see it as an issue or as large of an issue in their own place of organization or their own industry. And our interviews were not scientific, so we don't know exactly what's going on there, but generally research does not support that idea. So what we took away from that is that this could be a common theme to see with other employers during the introduction of a pay equity pledge, so it's just something to be aware of there. So our recommendation from our committee is for the county to develop and launch a Hamilton County Pay Equity Pledge that's built upon the best practices from other places, while also remaining tailored to the needs of our local community. So we recommend that a pledge in Hamilton County would reflect a few principles. First, maintain a targeted focus on pay equity, remain voluntary and employer-directed, be broadly drafted such that it could be adopted by employers of all sizes and different types, be accompanied by a set of practices and resources for employers to use to understand how they can implement the pay equity practices within their own companies, provide an opportunity for businesses who choose to sign on to get positive visibility around this space, and consider identifying one or more leading employers to closely collaborate and provide feedback on the pledge and mentor other employers. And finally, we recommend that the county continues to develop relationships with local businesses and chambers of commerce and incorporate a broad range of stakeholders as they consider planning and executing the pledge. So on behalf of the committee, we want to thank you all for the opportunity to work on this issue and to share our recommendations with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so we are the Women in Leadership Subcommittee, and this is Patty Robbie Keller, Tina Macon, I'm Anna McLennan, and Haiti Lopez Nolasco. So when we started this committee at the beginning of the year, we focused a lot on initiatives and projects that we could do as a committee to get more women and girls into leadership. But as we researched a lot of those initiatives we thought of more in depth, we found that a lot of organizations already exist and are already doing a lot of the work we planned to do. So we decided to focus our committee not on creating more entities to do this work, but on unifying and amplifying the organizations that are already doing the work. And so to that end, our first item is to create a resource hub. And our subcommittee compiled a database of city, state, and county organizations that work with girls and women to provide resources on all sorts of issues and other things. So we compiled that database, and our goal is for it to be turned into a resource hub that becomes publicly available online and is searchable. We're also hoping to further this goal of uniting these organizations that are already doing this work in leadership by creating a partner summit. And this partner summit will hopefully bring together a lot of these organizations who are in our resource hub to meet and learn from each other and engage in networking and learn about the ways that they can refer women to each other's organizations to become as efficient as possible in our community. We're hoping that that summit of partners would foster increased levels of synergy within those organizations. And I'll turn it over to Heidi.
Thank you, Hannah. As we look forward to next year's commission, we hope to endorse the work that Appointed has done regarding a best practices report to local governments to continue the increase of women in leadership positions. And for our recommendation, we recommend that Hamilton County continues to strive and ensure that there's gender balances on the boards and commissions to those who are appointed, And we also recommend a resource hub to be created and published on Hamilton County's website. And as Anna mentioned before, there is so much work that exists already. We want to serve as a unifier of all that work that exists already and have the public aware of what's being done already. Not only will this research hub help out women and girls, but it will help out families throughout Hamilton County and the state of Ohio to utilize the resources that exist already. And on behalf of the Leadership Subcommittee, we would like to thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Hello, we are from the Self-Identity and Health Subcommittee. My name is Jillian Teeters. This is Jenny Hu and Kathy Schwab. So we started off the year brainstorming ideas that affected both women and girls because we wanted to reach the largest population possible. Menstrual inequity came up early on. Menstrual inequity is the idea that people of different economic statuses experience menstruation differently. Similarly, period poverty is the term given to the idea that low-income individuals may struggle to afford period products. The lack of access that's created to this can contribute to absenteeism and low self-confidence, but it also has health ramifications. Lack of access to period products puts girls at higher risk for cervical cancer and toxic shock syndrome. To combat these issues, we started by researching successful legislation and programs that have minimized these issues.
During our research, we learned about House Bill 19, which is the bill to repeal the pink tax, the sales tax on pads, tampons, and other menstrual products. So we met and discussed House Bill 19 with State Rep. Bridget Kelly and Rep. Catherine Ingram, who are driving this bill.
So to take action locally, we presented the extent of the issue to the Student Achievement Committee at Cincinnati Public Schools. We requested that they institute a program to provide free menstrual supplies in the restrooms of all schools that serve grades 6 and up, similar to the programs present in Boston, Columbus, and New York City.
And we are very happy to announce that on November 6th, 2019, House Bill 19 was signed into law, and Cincinnati Public Schools has already filed a line item in the 2020 budget asking for free menstrual products for girls in grades 6 and up.
Great, great.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. We are the Safety Subcommittee. I'm Mary Gertner. We have Ava Serendorf, Mary Westrup, and Aisha Armstrong. Not here with us tonight is Ann Megerly, who also worked with us. Our goal this year has been to increase awareness and resources to both prevent gender-based violence and to better support the survivors of gender-based violence. In this case, gender-based violence is an umbrella term that's used to include domestic violence, rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. This issue of gender-based violence affects women and girls of all walks of life. This year, we identified 3 key groups in which to dedicate our efforts. They were students, Hamilton County employees, and domestic violence survivors.
I'm going to talk about the prevention among students. So sadly, many girls are affected by gender-based violence. 57% of teens have friends who have experienced dating violence, and 33% of teens in an abusive relationship don't tell anyone. 23% of all females report first experiencing partner violence before the age of 18. Gender-based violence is an issue of educational equity for girls. It impacts attendance and performance during critical education years. We recommended to CPS's Student Achievement Committee that they expand their use of existing prevention education programs available through Women Helping Women and YWCA, specifically the Coaching Boys into Men program and Safe Dates. At a meeting in early October, we asked the school board to identify 2 additional high schools to host one or both of these programs in the 2020-21 school year. And it was added as an action item. These programs are so successful because they address the issues of toxic masculinity at the youth level and educate students on signs of abuse so that they can take care of themselves as well as their friends. We recommend the County Commission encourage all county schools to expand gender-based violence prevention efforts.
So when we're talking about young girls, we are really focused on prevention, but unfortunately when we move to talking about the adult women, we're looking more at resources to support survivors. In focusing on Hamilton County employees, we want to protect and accommodate victims of gender-based violence in the workplace as an equity issue. 60% of intimate partner violence victims report losing their jobs after the incident, and 25% of rape survivors report losing their jobs within 1 year of their assault. We can't equip survivors to make a change if they fear losing their jobs. Losing income could cause women to return to an unsafe environment. Survivors report economic insecurity as a reason for staying in an abusive relationship. Fear of harm to public or professional image of the survivor or the abuser, and public-facing professionals may avoid safety planning that would, such as calling the police, protection orders, criminal and domestic court, anything that's going to appear in the public. The state of Ohio and the city of Cincinnati both have workplace policies to provide reasonable accommodations for victims of domestic violence who are either state or city employees, and we recommend that the county take similar steps by supporting a comprehensive workplace training and education program for all Hamilton County employees, to adopt policies and procedures that give appropriate and reasonable accommodations to all Hamilton County employees who are victims of gender-based violence, and to provide immediate assistance and support to Hamilton County employees who are victims of gender-based violence. And finally, when looking at domestic violence survivors as a whole, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men experience intimate partner violence, and many victims don't have the resources they need to attain the medical and psychological care, safe housing, or legal support, and they don't seek help because they feel deep and misplaced shame and stigma because of their abuser's choices. Within the county, there are programs available to train police to recognize the signs of domestic violence and dispatch support teams to provide immediate assistance. These teams go to the victims rather than requiring the victim to come to them, and as such, they are able to support more victims and have a bigger impact. There are other high domestic violence crime rate areas in Hamilton County that are not currently served by these on-site violence advocates. So we are asking the county to explore funding services to ensure that victims advocates are available 24/7 to be dispatched to scenes of domestic violence, and identify funding for the Hamilton County municipalities with higher rates of domestic violence that are not currently served by existing programs. Thank you so much for your time this evening and for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more subcommittee. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Megan Rich, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to the Social Mobility Subcommittee. I have Eileen Troth, I have Bess Lindeman, and Rena Saperstein with me. We'd also like to recognize the members who are not able to be here tonight, including Chandra Brown, Nia Jackson, Aaliyah Walker, and Vanessa White. We were a new committee this year for the Commission on Women and Girls, and our goal was to really examine the avenues or lack of avenues that women have to advance in society. And what we discovered was that the inaffordability of housing, housing insecurity, and frank homelessness are huge barriers for the women and families in Hamilton County. Some of this is due to pay inequities, as we've already heard about tonight, as these sorts of income disparities directly impact the budgets of women and the families they're supporting, including their ability to afford safe, quality, and stable housing. Our approach to this issue was to use storytelling to empower voices. We felt that our friends and family members and our neighbors were not talking enough about this really important issue, and that sometimes when people were talking about it, misconceptions were perpetuated. Our goal was to bring people from all walks of life together to hear stories and to make broad connections between the relationship of housing and other areas like health and education. These conversations, the first of which we hosted 1 week ago today, we used to build public will and momentum, and to develop, we want to use to develop clear policy recommendations, as well as the public support for those policies. In our conversation last week, we discussed several downstream effects directly related to housing insecurity. For instance, we know now that health and housing are intimately linked. In fact, environmental factors like housing have a greater impact on the health of individuals and communities than the traditional tools of the doctor. I'll turn it over to Bess now to talk to us about education.
Thank you. We also know that housing insecurity isn't being talked about enough in schools, and that even though the common age of homelessness is 9, many children are struggling with it in schools, but schools are unaware of it. Community conversations, storytelling, and art can be used to open dialogue about solutions to housing insecurity and homelessness. We recommend that the community continues to host these conversations by community partners and using this toolkit that was developed by the Hamilton County Commission of Women and Girls. On behalf of the Social Mobility Committee, thank you.
Thank you.
So now I would like to summarize the recommendations that have been presented by each of the committees. There are 5 recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. 1, Hamilton County should establish and fund a part-time or full-time staff position to manage and oversee the work of the commission in order to fully develop these programs and convene a broad range of employers, community partners, and other stakeholders. This initiative requires significant oversight, much more than a volunteer committee can provide. 2, Hamilton County should develop and launch the Hamilton County Pay Equity Pledge built upon best practices while remaining tailored to the needs of our local community as outlined in the report. 3, Hamilton County should continue to make appointments to boards and commissions that reflect those they serve, encourage other political jurisdictions to do the same, using the Women's Fund Best Practices Guide. 4, Hamilton County should enact policies and practices that support survivors of gender-based violence, which include support a comprehensive workplace training and education program for all Hamilton County employees to prevent gender-based violence and promote a safe work environment, adopt policies and procedures that give appropriate and reasonable accommodations to all Hamilton County employees who are victims of gender-based violence, and provide immediate assistance and support to Hamilton County employees who are victims of gender-based violence, such as information and referrals to resources. 5, Hamilton County should explore funding services to ensure that victims' advocates are available 24/7 to be dispatched to scenes of domestic violence in partnership with local law enforcement, and identify funding for Hamilton County municipalities with higher rates of domestic violence that are not currently served by existing domestic violence emergency response teams.
And my recommendations are to the community. Schools within Hamilton County should consider a system to provide free menstrual supplies to students in grades 6 and up within the upcoming school year. Programs and legislation should continue to be enacted to achieve menstrual equity. Encourage all schools within Hamilton County to expand gender-based violence prevention efforts. And finally, community conversations, storytelling, and art can be used to open dialogue about solutions to housing insecurity and homelessness. encourage continued conversations around the issue of housing insecurity hosted by community partners using the toolkit developed by the Hamilton County Commission on Women and Girls. And on behalf of the Hamilton County Commission on Women and Girls, we would like to thank the many supporters that have helped us continue our work of creating the spaces that allow women and girls the opportunity to get a seat at the table. On behalf of the Hamilton County Commission of Women and Girls, we'd like to thank you for your time, and we hope that you consider our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you for all of the work that you have put into the work and the recommendations that you have brought forward. It's really important and it's very compelling. So before we move to any of the resolutions, are there any comments or questions for any of the members of the Commission on Women and Girls?
Madam President, I just want to thank the whole group and all the areas that you discussed and the time that you took out of your busy lives to do this and what impact these recommendations will make on the entire county. So I thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm still learning how to use this to get to the mic, sorry. Well, I too want to join in and thank all of you for your great contributions to Hamilton County, to improving the lives of women and girls throughout our community. The recommendations that you've made here this evening are well thought out. They deserve our support, and I look forward to playing whatever role I'm asked to play here this evening.
Well, it'll be very soon.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to yield back to you, Madam President, to get the resolutions in front of us so
All
we
right.
can act.
Well, the resolutions, we have picked up, and the Commission on Women and Girls obviously were part of recommending which resolutions would be in front of us this evening for potential passage. And so those were circulated to your offices a couple of days ago, and so I hope you've had a chance to review them. So I am going to kind of top line these because the recommendations have been talked about by the subcommittees. And so we're going to go in order here by way of how the presentation went. I do want to say, too, Jackie O'Connell is not here tonight, and there are a number of commission members that were unable to attend, but Jackie in particular helped to organize this group in a way that none of the rest of us could, and so I do want to do a little bit of a shout out to Jackie. Thank her for her work. All right, so the first resolution in front of us, and I know they're not numbered, but I'm going to read it by title and then ask if there are any questions, and I will offer that we pass the resolution. So I will move that we adopt the resolution directing the administration to support development of the Hamilton County Pay Equity Pledge.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, see, that was easy, huh? All right. The second one talks about the boards and commissions. So I'm going to move that we approve of the resolution to promote gender balance on boards and commissions.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. The third one is the one that was presented by a couple of the girls, and by the way, the girls on this commission have just been rock stars. Really, you have been. It's amazing. So I'm going to move that we approve of the resolution supporting menstrual equity in public schools.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. The fourth resolution talks about some internal training for the county workforce. And so I'm going to move that we approve the resolution directing the county administrator to develop personnel policies to support victims of gender-based violence.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. The fifth resolution relates to the emergency response for when the EMTs or the police are called out to the scene of an incident, that we have trained responders there for the victims of gender-based violence. So I will move that we approve of the resolution directing the county administrator to develop recommendations for immediate intervention for the victims of domestic violence.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the sixth resolution is related to the last presentation on community conversations. And so this, I am going to move that we approve of the resolution expressing support for community partners hosting community conversations regarding affordable housing.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Well, there we go. So thank you again. Thank you so much to my colleagues for being so supportive of the work. Thank you all for all the time and effort you put in. We will catch up later. And you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like, but you are also free to go. But thank you for your work.
Great job, Denise.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
We do have a couple of speakers' cards that are not related to an agenda item. And so I'm going to call you forward. Monique Mason-Halter. Is Monique in the room? Good evening. Welcome.
Hi. I am a Hamilton County resident and a member of Southwest Ohio for Responsible Technology, or SWORT. I've spoken at 6 commissioner meetings now since February about my opposition to 4G and 5G small cells being installed near homes, schools, and hospitals, and also to Cincinnati becoming a smart city. In February, telecom executives gave congressional testimony that they have no scientific evidence that 5G is safe. Warnings about 5G have been issued by doctors, scientists, privacy advocates, security experts, engineers, environmentalists, meteorologists, NASA, NOAA, the U.S. Navy, utility companies, and more. Engineers have even warned about 5G base stations overheating and using 3 times as much energy as 4G base stations. Many American communities and organizations have already filed lawsuits against legislation and regulations that have eliminated local control over small cells and 5G. Elected officials are scheduling town hall meetings to get residents informed and involved. You could too. Prolonged exposure to cell tower radiation is harmful, especially to children. It's not just about increased cancer risk. I have provided information to you about this already. I have sent emails to many Ohio elected officials, including you. The only response worth mentioning so far was from Senator Sherrod Brown. He said, quote, he was deeply concerned about the National Toxicology Program study results on 2G and 3G cell phone radiation, end quote, and that, quote, Ohio cities will need robust 5G networks if they are to remain competitive places to do business, but not at the expense of the health of Ohioans. If 5G wasn't at the expense of all Americans, there wouldn't be so much opposition. There wouldn't be so many lawsuits. People and their pets are already sick where it's been turned on. Turning a blind eye or insisting that nothing can be done about this is unacceptable and lame. Y'all can do better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Todd A. Bricker. Good evening.
Thank you all for allowing me to speak. I live in the same neighborhood as Monique does, and I'm here to explain that I share her concerns, and that these are that the safety, the levels for safe, the establishment of safe levels of electromagnetic radiation they date to a study that was done nearly 30 years ago, and they were last updated on a national basis in the 90s. And so I share her concern about the small cells that will be installed in residential areas as opposed to commercial or public areas. And then this being an increase, more than a step, but maybe a leap of an increase in exposure to vulnerable younger people, and basically everything that's alive in the range of these more dense fields of energy. And as far as local authority over this sort of thing, I just want to urge you to pay attention to people who do have concerns and any kind of developments in awareness of any kind of health impacts that are being noticed and documented in local areas when this is being implemented. And thank you.
Thank you. The other two speakers' cards I have are related to an agenda item, so I'm going to hold those for the moment. So we're going to move to comments and motions of commissioners. Commissioner Sumero Dumas.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple comments as it relates to the activities I've been involved with. Since we had our last meeting, I attended the Recycling Awards program on 11/15. They gave out about 15 to 20 awards for companies and agencies that have been very active in the recycling effort. And so it was just awesome to see all of them and to be a part of it. That evening, I also went to Covington, Kentucky, where I was given an award as a phenomenal woman in Covington, Kentucky, and I thank them very much for that acknowledgement. And then yesterday, I had a visit from a couple. The husband is a veteran, and he brought up several issues surrounding veteran services, and I made a commitment to work with them and to see how we can better serve them as it relates to the services that they are receiving. And I went this morning to the city of Deer Park for groundbreaking. They're going to have some improvements at on Blue Ash Road, so I was happy to be a part of that. And lastly, I have a couple comments. I did get some phone calls after the Tuesday meeting from some residents who were really appalled at the behavior that took place on Tuesday as it relates to the public hearing. And I need to make some comments about the public hearing that dealt with festive court because I will not allow that behavior to be a precedent for our commission meetings, not as it relates to me. I will continue to ask questions, get input from staff and residents. I will take my time making decisions. I will not be intimidated or threatened because I may have questions or concerns, or that because they are on a timeline that I am not on. I can't be concerned about the pressure that they are under. I will continue to make the best decisions as I have before for the county of Hamilton County. And so I just want to make it very clear that intimidation will not work for me. And I just would appreciate that any developers or whoever's coming forward with a project, that they respect me as I will respect them. And that will end my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Portun.
No comments this evening, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever happened before.
Sorry.
So I was ready to sit back in my chair and.
No, we have, and there are several more board meetings scheduled before the end of the year. I intend to attend at least one of those. And so I'll reserve
All right,
other
very good.
comments until then.
Very
Okay?
good, all right. I only have a couple of things, and since you didn't mention it, I'm going to. There was an event the other night that we all attended to recognize the accomplishments and the years and years of dedication of Commissioner Portun. Victoria Parks was the chief organizer of the event. Victoria, it was lovely, and very well attended and very heartfelt from the folks that spoke. It was just a real privilege to attend and be part of the celebration of your accomplishments and all that you've done for Hamilton County and beyond. I mean, you know, really, your accomplishments extend well beyond even this region. So I do want to note that and congratulate Victoria and Sessler and others who organized the event. It was really nice.
Well, now that you've raised it.
Well, I know. I can't believe you didn't say anything about it.
Well, you know, number one, as you know, I don't like to draw attention to things, so, but it was, and it was over the top. Victoria, you're lovely in what you put together, and so many people, starting with Ann Sessler, but the contributions of many were overwhelming, and as I said, Monday night. I don't deserve this. But I will also say that I wish everybody in their lifetime would be able to experience something like that in their lifetime. Just what a wonderful thing. And, Victoria, I love you for what you did. Thank you.
Thank you. I especially enjoyed the Shaft part of the evening where the song played out and here comes Commissioner Portune. That is your theme song, right?
Victoria says so.
Well, that's what I've been told, so, Yeah. All right. Okay, and I only have one other item, and it's related to the census. So we have joined efforts with the city to promote the census. It is so important that we count everyone in Hamilton County because so much of our funding is associated with an accurate count. Not only funding related to some of the safety services and some of the JFS in particular comes to mind, some of those dollars that support our families in need. There are also economic development dollars that are tied to the census and the numbers, the CDBG dollars that promote economic development in communities like Woodlawn. And so it is so important that we count everyone. And so I had a meeting today with the woman that's heading up the effort here in this region. She had also met with Mayor Cranley, so we're full steam ahead, and we're very supportive. But the one thing that she impressed upon me was that they're looking for employees. For people to help do the count. And so these jobs, the application process is open now. It will be open until they complete the count. So it's an ongoing time frame. The work, from my understanding, will start towards the beginning of the year. It will run for about 8 weeks or so. And the wages they're paying, I think, are $15 an hour and over. So they're good paying jobs, and I think they're very flexible so that people that are working otherwise, or a stay-at-home mom, or a senior that would like to do this, are more than welcome to apply and do what they can by way of the number of hours they can devote to this. And so I'm just going to give the information quickly. You can apply online by visiting 2020census.gov/jobs. 2020census.gov/jobs, and they need a lot of employees from this area, and if they don't find them, they're gonna have people come in from other areas, which would be a real shame because I think we need the jobs. So anyways, if there's any other question about this, Bridget, we're posting this on our website, and so if you did not catch that information, you can go to the Hamilton County website, easily access this information, and let people know that these jobs are available and the application is open right now. So thank you for that. Administrator Aludo, we've got a number of by-leaves.
We do. Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick comment on the matter of the Commission on Women and Girls. I know most of them have left, but some of the matters that the board approved were related to some internal actions related to policies and procedures of the county. We've already, recognizing the likelihood of approval of these resolutions, we've already started that discussion with the HR director, and I've asked Frank Spataro to report back to me quickly on changes that could be made to get these started as quickly as possible. So we are moving on that.
So you mentioned administration, and I neglected to thank my aide, Fatima Ba, for all of her hard work, and Bridget Doherty as well, for all of her hard work on the commission. So I apologize. Go ahead.
No. And with that, we do have several by-leaves this evening that I believe all of these are in front of you. Jackie and I were going through these earlier, so I hope we have all of them in order here. These are in no particular order, but the first by-leave I have is Resolution number 43, authorizing the Budget Office to resolve legislative typographical errors. So we don't often do this, but in certain budgetary, especially around budget time, we need to provide formal direction to the Auditor's Office to change the coding where there's been some typographical errors made. So the administration recommends approval of Resolution number 43.
Are there any comments or questions related to this resolution?
No comment.
No questions.
That my favorite whereas clause is, whereas to err is human. So someone had a sense of humor when they were writing
We
this
have a
one.
budget office with a sense of
And
humor.
where's John? I mean, yes,
And
I've never seen.
Not a whole lot of organizations
Right.
can say that.
Never seen
So-
anything like that. All right, so I'm going to move that we approve of resolution number 43, authorizing the budget office to resolve legislative typographical errors.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Jackie, to confirm, we do have the HR
Yes.
personnel, okay, I just wanted to make sure, I didn't want to go into that if that had not been distributed. So the second by leave is a resolution changing the status of Kimberly Lee, Secretary to the Board of County Commissioners, from part-time to full-time. There was a departure in Commissioner Summer Dumas's office, and Kimberly Lee is being moved to full-time to accommodate for that departure. The administration recommends approval.
Any comments or questions?
No, I want to thank the part-time person that was there, did a fantastic job, but due to other reasons beyond her control and also mine, she had to leave, but she'll still be with us in our heart and whenever we need her, so thank you.
Great, all right, so I'm going to move then that we approve of the resolution changing the status of Kimberly Lee, Secretary to the Board of County Commissioners, from part-time to full-time.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Next is budget adjustment number 40. This is $618,000 for the Treasurer, Courts, Board of Elections, and Stadium Departments. This relates to several items. This is an adjustment for contractual services within the Banks Development Department. This is funds allocated from the Clerk of Courts to the Treasurer that need to go, that are DTAC related, that need to be applied to the Land Bank. There is an upgrade to the Court of Common Pleas Wi-Fi system that's being handled through a restricted fund. There is also the appropriation of funds for a security mandate from the Secretary of State to the Board of Elections. There's $150,000 of general fund required because of this mandate. There was a $50,000 grant given as well. So the administration recommends approval of these budget adjustments.
Are there any questions or comments?
No questions.
Neither.
All right, I'm going to move that we approve of budget adjustment number 40, $618,377 for the Treasurer, Courts, Board of Elections, and Stadium Departments.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. I believe the final by leave item I have, and this requires some assistance from the county engineer on this. This relates to the 2019 Township 20% Fund Program. This is a fund from the Permissive Auto Fee Motor Vehicle License Fund that goes to fund township road projects, and I'll turn it over to Engineer Hubbard for some further detail on this.
In the 1990s, we passed it was the third permissive auto fee, I believe, and part of our agreement was to make the townships equal partners so that they would receive the same percentage of funds that the county receives. The county received 50% of the funds collected on the permissive fee, and the townships were to receive 30%. And so we made them an equal partner. Now, many counties across the state are doing the same thing. That's where the 20% fund name comes from. And so those are funds that are set aside for township projects. The townships have applied. Sometimes they don't use all the funding that they have because they bank it over the years, and they'll go for a bigger project. But the resolution authorizes funding to those townships that have applied. The projects that they've requested are worthy projects for
Just
township
out of
streets.
curiosity, how many townships do apply?
They're all eligible to it. It happens at different times, Denise. Sometimes, we encourage them all to use that money because it sits if they don't. And so we do have a record of what's in the balance. We can get that for you. I'll have Fred Schlim get that if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, that'd
But
be
they
great.
all apply. They all do apply. They just don't apply at the same time.
Okay.
We'll have some townships, they may, instead of just resurfacing, they may want to rehab an entire street. And so what they'll do is they'll bank it for a while, and then they'll use that money to rehab a street. Sometimes they'll use it for local match for a project. So they do make use of it, but it comes in sporadically. Or it has over the years. And believe me, we want them to use that money. We encourage them to use the money. So.
Thank you.
And if any township, well, since I'm sorry. But I'd like to take an opportunity to say, if any township has any questions about how much money they have available, please give us a call. I mean, we definitely want to get that information to them.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions related to this?
Just a question, Ted, is there a common program like for villages?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's the
Okay.
Municipal Road Fund.
Oh, that's
And
the
that,
one for that.
and that's about a $2 million program a year. We've talked about it before. We don't call it a percentage fund like the
percentage
township,
fund.
but no, the Municipal Road Fund is very, very similar. And in fact, Commissioner Portune once asked me to go out to speak to, I believe it was Gulf Manor.
Yes, it was.
And we went and we met with the folks at Gulf Manor, and they were able to use that fund for the Lasanaville Road. So, I mean, you know,
went to Deer Park
we
also.
want to make sure that everybody uses those funds. That's very, very important, too.
Is the money comparable for townships and villages, or the?
Well, it's a different pot.
Sure, but I mean the amount that's in each pot.
Totally, well, okay, on the municipal road fund, there's about
It's
2.1
large.
million per year.
Yeah.
And it's just, and over time, it's supposed to be distributed similar to their license plate registrations. And so, and it's a similar system for the 20% fund. Now, some years, a township may get a little bit ahead, or a municipality or township may get a little bit ahead, and then sometimes they'll fall behind. But we try to, you know, over time, we want to try to match what their registrations are.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Popular program.
All right, so I am going to move that we approve of the resolution approving and authorizing the county engineer to fulfill his 2019 commitment to the townships.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jim?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Commissioners. I believe that is all of the by-leaves. The only other one that should be in your packet is a resolution for the board's consideration, if it so wishes, related to the hearing on festive court.
All right, so we are going to roll right into that public hearing. Hearing continued in progress. Last time we met, we continued the hearing related to the vacation of festive court in Sycamore Township. We do have a couple speakers cards on this. The first speaker is Doug Mormon.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. I know that you're well aware of this project. Again, my name is Doug Mormon. I represent Capital Investment Group, who's pursuing the development just south of Jewish Hospital that's known as the Gallery at Kenwood. The item before you this evening is the vacation of festive court. Again, this is just a continuation of the hearing and wanted to make ourselves available if you have any questions for us. But before that, Commissioner Dumas, I will just tell you that while I didn't offer any comments at the last meeting, I don't think the intent was to intimidate or try and challenge you in any way. And I apologize on behalf of the development team that you felt that you interpreted the comments in that way.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Our next speaker is Greg Bickford. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity. Here tonight, just to briefly talk about the requested vacation. Obviously, I wasn't at the first one, so I just want to shed some light, give some facts on the vacation. The fact that there's a development on the property has no bearing on the vacation. Any property owner is entitled to ask for vacation if they do own all the properties. I guess there was some talk of legal action against state legislation. That too would have no bearing on the vacation. The same property owner does own all 12 or 13 properties that abut this street. There are no public utilities that exist in the right-of-way that are used by any property owner. All the properties are vacated. They at one time were multifamily units. They are unable to be used as multifamily anymore simply for the fact that pretty much every first responder organization in Hamilton County has been through those buildings training. It's been 3 weeks of all kinds of first responders, police, fire, etc. There are no occupied structures on Festive Court. There is no access to any other public property or right-of-way from Festive. It is a dead-end street. Sycamore Township would be required to maintain that street, even if it's vacant and not used, if it's a public right-of-way. Obviously, we'd have to provide police, fire, et cetera, to that particular road. And last but not least, Festive Court was last paved in 2005. We are due to do some maintenance on it again, and I would hate to spend funds to maintain a road that is not being used anymore. So that's from Sycamore Township standpoint on the vacation of the road.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I do want to note that we received an email from the woman who testified at our last meeting related to this, and she did clarify, because she had asked that we postpone this, and she has now, and I think my read of it was that she is not opposed to the vacation of festive court. So I just wanted to offer that for perspective. This is a different item, so I'm going to put that there for now. All right, so we, are there any comments or questions related to this item before we close the hearing?
Madam President, I
Yes.
have done my due diligence, and that's why I'd asked for a continuance, so I'm satisfied with what I found out.
Okay.
So thank you.
All right, so I am then going to move that we close the hearing related to the vacation of festive court.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. So we also have a resolution then in front of us authorizing the approval of the vacation of festive court. So I'm going to move that we approve of the resolution vacating on behalf of Sycamore Creek 2 LLC, the public fee right-of-way for festive court in Section 13, Town 4, entire Range 1, Sycamore Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, is provided for by Section 5553 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here again. Appreciate it. All right. We have our consent agenda in front of us. We do have a speaker's card related to one of the items, and that item is item number 3. So Jim Doughton is here, so please come forward. So this is an item related to the Sharonville Convention Center, and I'm going to let you take it from there.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Commissioner Dreehouse, Commissioner Dumas, Commissioner Fortune. I'm here tonight, as is Jim Lucas, our Safety Service Director, and Scott McKeon, our Director of Finance. On behalf of the City of Sharonville and our Mayor, Kevin Hardman, to thank the county and its staff for their continued partnership, patience, support while working with us over the last several years on our exhibit hall expansion project. Through funding provided by the Hamilton County TOT grant, we have been able to complete multiple marketing and construction studies that supported a decision to increase the size of our exhibit hall. By expanding our exhibit hall, we will be providing a continuum of space in Hamilton County that will satisfy our many customers and visitors who are coming for a mid-sized convention center, hosting mid-sized meetings and events. We appreciate the opportunity to help create a funding model that continues to share the financial responsibility between the county and the City of Sharonville. The City of Sharonville would also like to specifically acknowledge Commissioner Todd Fortune for his longstanding partnership and support of our convention center. If you don't mind, I would like to read to you our resolution that will be read by our City Council this Tuesday concerning our convention center's exhibit hall.
Please do.
I've never read one of these before. There's a lot of whereases here.
Yes, he does.
Oh, no,
Yes, he
I
does.
want to. Resolution 2019 R-23-E, honoring Hamilton County Commissioner Todd Fortune. Whereas Hamilton County Commissioner Todd Fortune has been an unwavering champion of economic development projects throughout the county, and whereas Commissioner Todd Fortune led the county's efforts to support the development and expansion phases of the Sharonville Convention Center in the Northern Lights District. And whereas Commissioner Todd Fortune worked closely with civic, business, and political leaders to create the Sharonville Cooperative Agreement, allowing the City of Sharonville and Hamilton County to split the expansion costs from money collected from the hotel occupancy taxes. And whereas the first phase of the expansion project was completed in 2012, and the second phase begins in 2020, and when complete will showcase the 40,000 square foot exhibit hall. And whereas Commissioner Todd Fortune's commitment and dedication has allowed this project to become a reality for the City of Sharonville and Hamilton County. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Council of the City of Sharonville that the Sharonville Convention Center Exhibit Hall is hereby named Todd Portune Hall.
That's awesome.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah. Look at that.
Wow.
can you turn it just a little?
Break it.
Uh-oh.
You break it, you bought it, right?
Oh, here, he's running to the front.
Yeah. That's true.
That's right.
Could vote against.
Wow.
Wow,
Oh, look at that.
wow.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Very nice.
Madam President,
Yes.
quick legal question to Michael Friedman. Am I allowed to vote on this? Actually, I think I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, in that case, I am going, we're going to move to the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments related to any of the other items on the consent agenda? I know we're not passing on 13, we're going to hold that one. Anything else?
I have no questions or comments.
No questions.
All right, so in that case, that was item 3. I'm going to move that we approve of items 1 and 2. Also, items 4 through 12, and items 14 through 18 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
I'm going to also move to approve of item number 3 on the consent agenda.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
And Commissioner Fortune abstained.
Yes.
Yes. And also, we are going to hold on item number 13 on the consent agenda. And with that, I believe we've completed our business. Thank you again so much for having us here in Woodlawn. You've just been delightful throughout this whole process, so thank you very much for hosting us, and we are adjourned. Or do I have to move? Do I generally move?
You generally do, but I don't think you, Michael says you do not have to.
On the
Adjourn?
Right, you've always said that.
I'm going to move that we adjourn. But you want to.
Yeah, okay.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas? Commissioner Fortune?
Yes.
I jumped the gun.
How's that?
I have to apologize because